Josh says, Coach, I feel like God is leading me to create a Christian-based podcast. Right up my alley. What are some simple ways I can talk to non-Christian people about God? I don't want to scare people away. Great question, Josh. I think I coached you. I don't know if I coached you, but you sound similar to a guy that I talked to last summer about this. Basically, the safest way to deliver any type of Christian material is to talk about things that Christ has covered, that Christ has developed you in character, and that you won't disqualify yourself because you still got hidden practices right now in your life, right? And so if you feel the Holy Spirit leading you to create a podcast, just simply get a, like I do. I simply get a sheet of paper. I always carry with me, what's these things called? Clipboard. And I carry a blank sheet of paper. If I'm not at my desk, I have a clipboard. And I leave it a blank page. Holy Spirit, what do you have on your heart for me today? And right then, a word will drop in me. A phrase will drop in my spirit. A vision. I may see things on the wall. Not really, but you know how you go and you zone out and you see this whole picture here. And then next thing I know, I'm creating it. So to advise, let me read your question again so I can get very specific. Coach, I feel like God's leading me to create a Christian-based podcast. What are some simple ways I can talk to non-Christian people about God? Only talk to God's people about things God has freed you from. Don't talk about anything beyond that because you're not qualified. Don't try. I was guilty of this. I tried it. I spoke on a lot of things I didn't experience. And then when I started experiencing spiritual warfare, I started experiencing temptation. I began to slow it down, those type of talks. You see what I'm saying? Now, but because God has freed me from certain things, I'm now qualified. No. Because God has freed me from it and is keeping me free from it, because freedom is an everyday process, because in a moment you can find yourself back in bondage. In a moment you can find yourself back in prison. So you have to have the mindset, just because you've been freed from a certain sinful practice doesn't mean that a trap is not looming. You got to stay in the freedom of Christ, the presence of him, of his, so that you can stay in that place of freedom. But do not teach God's people anything that God hasn't, that you haven't fully taught yourself. The Bible talks about it in Romans. Why try to teach to others and you haven't even taught yourself? You disqualify yourself. You become unqualified because your sins will find you out. What you practice in the dark will find itself in your life, and then people will look at your what you practice in the dark and what you've been preaching in the light, and they're gonna be like, they don't have no likeness to them. They're not alike. Then people ain't gonna. It's so much damage that happens to people that speak on things that they're not mature enough to. Zeal must be backed by wisdom. So, how to serve God's people is to get a sheet of paper and write down everything that you have experienced, whether it was from, be very specific to you, because people want to get to know you. People want to see how God worked on you. And then you'll begin to find points. Like the reason I'm not going to talk about the purpose of marriage. I've only been married. I'm not going to talk heavy in my podcast about marriages. I only been married for a buck and some change, a year and some change. You see what I'm saying? But singleness, I know for a fact I mastered that. I did well in that. I have fruit of that. I wouldn't have 111 people. I wouldn't, watching me right now and hundreds later, I wouldn't have 660 something people in my course right now if people didn't see that I was a person that mastered that. So take some time to write on a sheet of paper and say, Holy Spirit, what can I help people with? And don't just create a platform that tells. Create a platform that enables. Don't just create a platform that edifies. Create a platform that enables. And what I mean by that, I always want to give y'all worksheets. I always want to give you something that you can take home and work on yourself. So simple ways into talking to non-Christian, when ways I can talk to non-Christian people about God. Real, recognize real. Some of the realest people in the world and some of the fakest people are in the church. You see what I'm saying? Real, recognize real. When I'm real around non-believers, I'm not extra churchy. I'm just a Christian. I'm just myself. And when you are able to communicate realness, people, the remnant wants the real. And the people who have yet to be saved but will be saved, they want the real. That's why, I grow slow because I'm raw. I grow slow but I'm real, but I'll be respected forever. People who give you that weak stuff are only going to be respected for a moment. But if you give people the real, you'll be respected for life. But you can't be respected unless you inspect it. You got to inspect your life in order to have a respected life. You inspect your life daily. Write on that sheet of paper everything. Write down your target audience. who they are down to the shades of color, not just one shade, but the shades of color, to the gender, to the specifics, to the specific background, and spend time with the Holy Spirit. Get you a journal, a podcast notebook, and write. And the Holy Spirit will give you so many ideas. I could talk about this because when I was 5, I went through that. Start with your past and write down how God was faithful to you in your past, because people want to see what God has done for you. Because why would someone want to serve a God and they can't see God in your life? They want a real God, and you got to give them that real. So, Coach, I feel like God is leading me to create a Christian-based podcast. What are some simple ways I can talk to non-Christian people about God? Get to know him first. Keep getting to know him. And from that residue, see, I only give y'all the residue of my relationship. All this is what skimmed off the top. Overflow. I'm giving you the overflow from my life. I'm keeping what's mine. I ain't giving you what's mine. I'm giving you what's overflowing out of this vessel. So the more you get to know God, it'll bubble up to your throat and it'll come out your mouth, and you'll be able to write it down and get it out to the people. Talk to Christians about people. I don't want to scare people away. It's hard to scare. The truth is scary. So no matter what, when you tell the truth is going to scare people. But what you have to do is you got to make sure you tell the truth in love, grace and truth and grace, love and grace. You see what I'm saying? Love and truth. And when you have empathy, you will truly be able to reach them. Hope they help.